So imagine this. The software you trust, the very tools you use to build your crypto projects, were secretly designed to steal everything from you. Well, that's not a hypothetical. That's exactly what happened in the dYdX heist. It was this really sophisticated attack that turned a trusted source into a weapon. We're going to break down exactly how it all went down.
It's the one question that probably keeps every single crypto holder up at night. But look, this story, it isn't about some simple brute force attack or stolen password. Nope, this is about an attack that came from a place you'd never suspect. A place you're supposed to trust. The very code you use to build. All right, here's what we're going to cover. First, how these crypto wallets got targeted. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of how the hack actually worked. We'll look at why dYdX was the bullseye, how this fits into a bigger, scarier pattern of attacks, and most importantly, what you can do to protect your own digital assets.
Okay, let's dive right into the core of the problem here. Because this wasn't your typical hack, you know? We're not talking about phishing emails or sketchy websites. The danger, the real threat, came from a source that developers are literally trained to trust without a second thought. Somehow, the attackers managed to sneak malicious code directly into official software packages, the ones published by dYdX itself. Think about that for a second. This means that developers, just doing their normal everyday jobs, were unknowingly installing a digital sleeper agent right onto their systems. And this thing had one mission: hunt for crypto wallets and drain them. And the consequences? Well, they were absolutely devastating. The security firm Socket, the guys who investigated this whole thing, put it perfectly. They said this wasn't just some data leak. This was, and I'm quoting here, complete wallet compromise and irreversible cryptocurrency theft. And in the world of crypto, there's no undo button. Once it's gone for good. So the big question is, how in the world did they pull this off? It was actually a really clever two-pronged attack. They went after both JavaScript and Python developers, exploiting the very tools they rely on every single day. Okay, before we get any deeper, we have to talk about the ultimate prize here, the seed phrase. Seriously, just think of it as the master key to your entire digital vault. It's just a series of words, but it can restore your wallet on any device, anywhere. If a thief gets this, they don't need your password, they don't need your computer, they own everything, all your crypto. So here's how the trap was sprung. It's almost chillingly simple. A developer, thinking nothing of it, installs what they believe is a totally legitimate package. And inside, this hidden code just lies dormant, waiting. Then, the moment a seed phrase is entered or used, bam, it springs to life, grabs that master key, and quietly sends it, along with a little fingerprint of the device, straight to the attackers. And this is where it gets really clever, how they actually got the data out. The attackers used this classic technique called typo squatting. They created a fake domain name that looked almost identical to a real one. So they sent all this stolen data to dydx.priceoracle.site. By doing that, they made all that malicious traffic just kind of blend in, making it way harder to detect. But wait, it gets worse. The attack didn't just stop there. See, the malware that targeted the JavaScript developers, that was a pretty straightforward credential thief. The version they aimed at Python developers, though, that was on a whole other level. It wasn't just stealing information. Oh no, it installed a full-blown backdoor, giving the attackers a permanent hidden doorway right into the victim's system. This backdoor is what we call a Remote Access Trojan, or a RAT. And yeah, it's just as nasty as it sounds. It's basically a secret tunnel that gives the attacker a command center right inside the victim's computer, letting them do, well, pretty much anything they want. And the level of control this RAT provided is just chilling. We're talking about the ability to not just steal sensitive info like API and SSH keys, but to execute any code they wanted. This gave them complete, total control. They could watch every single keystroke, steal private files, and even use that compromised computer to attack other machines on the network. It was a total system takeover. So you have to wonder, right? This was a super sophisticated, highly targeted attack. Why go through all this trouble just for dYdX? Well, as it so often is in these cases, the answer is simple. You just have to follow the money. Now, for anyone who might not be familiar, dYdX is a huge player in the crypto world. It's a major decentralized derivatives exchange. Basically, it's a place where traders go to bet on the future value of cryptocurrencies. And we're talking about massive, massive sums of money. All that high-volume trading makes it a pretty irresistible target for hackers.
Okay, this number right here, it really puts everything into perspective. $1.5 trillion. That's the total trading volume that dYdX has processed in its lifetime. I mean, that's more than the GDP of many countries. With that kind of money flowing through it every single day, it's no wonder it's a prime target.
And here's the really crucial part. This wasn't a one-off thing, not even close. This latest attack is really just one more chapter in a long, troubling history of security problems that have plagued dYdX. It reveals a really persistent vulnerability.
I mean, if you look back, the warning signs were all there. Go back to September 2022, they had a really similar supply chain attack on their NPM repository. Then, in 2024, their main website was hijacked, sending users to a wallet-draining site. And all of that brings us right up to today, to this latest and, frankly, much more advanced attack on both NPM and PyPI. You know, the security researchers at Socket really hit the nail on the head with their analysis. They pointed out that attackers are just repeatedly going after dYdX, and they're doing it through the very channels that users and developers are supposed to trust. It's a clear strategy, and unfortunately for them, it's one that's worked more than once. Okay, so all of this brings us to the most important question of all. What can you do to protect yourself? Let's get into the specifics of how you can secure your assets right now. All right, pay close attention because this is the really actionable stuff. If you're a developer and you're using these tools, you need to check your dependencies, like right now. For NPM, the package is at dYdX protocol /v4-client.js. You can see the specific malicious versions right here. For PyPI, the one to watch out for is dYdX-v4-client, specifically version 1.1.5 post 1. Double check, triple check, make absolutely sure none of these are in your projects. So what's the big takeaway from all of this? Well, it's that the whole game has changed. The battleground for cybersecurity has shifted. Attackers aren't just trying to break down the front door anymore. Now they're hiding inside the house. They're corrupting the very foundation, hiding their malicious code inside the trusted tools we all use every single day. And that leaves us with one final, really big question to think about. In this world we live in, where pretty much all software is built on layers and layers of shared open source code, who's ultimately responsible for keeping it safe? I mean, when the very tools we use to build our digital world can be turned into weapons against us, who is guarding the guards?